actual values are put. So this is the database name. And in result, we make a search query, select everything from users, where users get the variable users and password get all the variable of password. So basically, it tells the entire database to vomit out everything that is corresponding to user and their passwords. This is how a simple query looks like. Supposing the attacker submits an or one and then hyphen as a username, whatever the password is, the whole query will end up looking like this. So this is a basic form of SQL injection. Select star from users where user is equal to, and then single double quotation, or one hyphen hyphen and password whatever. What it means is that the syntax of where the SQL reads. Okay, so it reads basically where there is anywhere there is single double quotes. So it reads this. Sorry, it reads it as a single quote. So this is an entire statement. So what happens is that by adding an additional quote over here, it makes this part instead of making it as an executable, as a command, it is making it as a direct root command. Everything after the hyphen, which indicates that the start of the SQL injection, SQL statement, is discarded and ignored. That means this part and password whatever is been discarded. So give me users whatever. The entire thing will be going to a database out. Everything after the indicates that the start of the command and the SQL will be discarded and ignored. The query will be executed when it looks like this. So this is how the query will be executed by the server. And when it's basically saying grab everything or select everything from users, that's all. So this is the basic statement that it's trying to get, and it's going to give out all the users, all the user information. That is what it's going to give out. The best way to get rid of this is to use prepared statements. So prepared statements means what? It does not execute codes, or it does not execute any form of malicious injections in a single quote. Rather, it breaks this into multiple pieces. So it takes the user field as a single piece, and it takes the password as a single piece. And then it compares the values and then checks whether the information that you enter is correct or not. Parameterized queries is not hard to do. If you have to have an understanding of PHP to make sure that you are safe in this matter. As an auditor, PHP is also required because when it comes to SQL injection, because you need to understand how and where the information is being gathered. Now for Java, and then .NET and ASP.NET. ASP.NET is much easy. Select star from customer where customer ID is equal to customer ID. See, he creates a variable over here, and then he puts a new parameter inside that customer ID, thereby preventing any form of SQL injection from occurring. Idea here is to not understand the remediation rather than to find out the problems using the tools. The objective here is to make sure that you understand all the top 10 OWASP, and then from there we move on forward to see what issues and all can be identified from a testing website. We have now broken authentication. Broken authentication involves in all kinds of laws that are in errors in implementations of authentication or session management. The category includes every login attempt. So this is quite an interesting form of issue. It means that a user that is not supposed to be using any form of access is gaining access from that matter, meaning like a normal user, say user 1, who has no rights as an administrator, is somehow able to get in the administrative controls to some level and was able to alter any form of information and making the administrator inaccessible. This is also a form of broken authentication. Now, I want you all to picture yourself whenever you visit your computer or whenever you visit a cyber cafe or your phone, how many times you have to type your password whenever you wish to enter any form of site. When was the last time you have entered your passwords for your Google account? Okay, So the main objective over here is to make sure that whatever information that you gather, or whatever information that you get from an administrator point of view, is to make sure that all the information, I'm sorry, where was I? Yes. How many times you were able to make sure that you are actually signed in into Google? And the ability that Google always remembers your password and make sure that other people may not get access and all to it is quite difficult in nature, unless if you manage two-factor authentication. So that is on broken authentication. We have sensitive data exposure. Sensitive data exposure makes sure that no form of sensitive information such as passwords, session tokens, credit card information, username, passwords, version info, like there's basically ways to hide your JavaScript and your Bootstrap versions to make sure that other applications are not able to pick it up, such as Webalizer. To make sure that Apache's version is not disclosed, Nginx servers also is not exposed. XML external entities, you need to have a basic understanding of Java, Java and XML. It means over here that the attacker, the basic understanding of XML external entity attack means what is that XML documents are basic forms of documents that have instructions like go here, do this, find that. It pulls out files from other applications. It pulls out files from other websites. Like supposing if I want to create a form of communication between my database and another application, then I just write an XML code that makes the application much faster. What happens is that whenever it tries to pull out information from other sources, from third-party sources and all, it may be insecure because other third-party sources are unreliable. It is up to the developer to make sure that every document that they pull out that includes XML is proper, secure, and been tested for any form of bugs. That is only where XXE attack is possible. As of now, in the latest development of the applications and everything with the latest updates and all, XXE is an attack that is likely to be seen. Broken access control, it basically means that you are having access to some other applications that you're not supposed to be doing. Just accessing some pages that you're not supposed to be accessing. You're able to get into login pages of administrators which are supposed to be hidden to the people. You're able to get list of all inventories and list of all items within the website. Security misconfiguration, it's the most generic form of any configuration that is set up by the web application that serves to do one purpose may have an alternate purpose or another form of malicious purpose. The best example over here is a login page. When you have a login page and the way that the page is supposed to be accessed is only supposed to be accessed by administrators, that makes it a broken access control. But if the login page is able to bypass, if you're able to directly bypass the login page by creating another dummy session, or you're able to somehow trick the server into accepting your passwords and all into SQL injection, then it comes under security misconfiguration. So it's a broad term that is classified into multiple attacks such as directory listing and path traversal, buffer overflow, and so on. Cross-site scripting is the most major topic that we always see on a daily basis as per our clients. There are two types, stored and reflected. The purpose of stored and reflected means what is that you throw malicious code inside the forms or any form of data and everything, and then you receive some form of data in return. That means if you throw any malicious script in that executes certain parts or certain features, then in return you get those items back. That is how cross-site scripting in general works. Insecure deserialization is the form of serialization. You have to have an understanding of Java serialization. Means what? That a basic command, a set of instructions that are supposed to be processed by a Java encoded machine is supposed to be serialized, sent, deserialized, and then read by the server. Sometimes the serialization is done without any form of security, and we are able to reverse engineer any form of serialization that is done by the Java application or the Java, the Java mainframe, especially for eMudra tokens. To make sure that their Java application and everything is secure, and this is mostly vulnerable to insecure deserialization. Using components with non-vulnerabilities is basically using outdated versions like JavaScript, Bootstrap, Apache Server, and Nginx, and so on. If you use any outdated applications and everything, and making sure that you're using components with known vulnerabilities which are identified in CVE and CWE. Insufficient logging and monitoring means what? That every time anyone tries to brute force, DOS attack, or perform some form of malicious attack on your web application, you should be having the ability to find out who has done that and supposed to monitor and keep logs to make sure that you can blacklist any form of IP or any user from accessing this application. That is why you have to make sure that your application is able to maintain logs and to make sure that all applications are running fine. All right, so we'll come down to the application itself. The web application, we are using a dummy application over here. As you can see that there is no SSL being configured over here. That means it's unsecure. For the purpose of this demo, we are going to use this web application and we are going to use a very interesting tool. Multiple tools is what we are going to be using. We're going to be using Burpsuite, Nmap, and we're going to use Zap and Nikto. So these are the 4 major tools that we are going to be using on a daily basis. I want you all to make sure that you'll take notes on this matter so that you don't forget on the commands that we're using, and make sure that all links will be provided later on. So we have a basic dummy application over here. We have a sign up page, we have a carts, and we have a lot of other items over here. As you can see that there is multiple applications over here where we can enter any form of data. Now, whenever you see this type of pages and everything, you have got to make sure that any form of information that you type over here, for example, as I'm going to type in a script, SCRIPT, alert, give me an alert, and then script. Basically, I'm feeding it some form of malicious code. Whether it works depending on that information, we're going to see it over here. And it has accepted the command without doing any form of validation. So you can understand that every application that you're trying to make sure that it's validating to see that no application is doing any form of validation. You got to ensure that every application is doing fine. And see, and here is your form of cross-site scripting. This is the first attack. Oh, sorry. Okay. So this is how we have an application which is an issue. As you can see that there is how we are able to put in an application which has the document cookie, has a script. This is how a script looks like. So you have a script, you have the input of data, and you have to make sure that any information is being inserted. So what we do is basically copy this and you go to a sign up page, do a normal test, username and password, and then you have login for test. Okay, basically it's you add any form wherever you see the fields, especially for address or any form of data that does not require processing. You can simply copy paste the scripts anywhere you want. So even in the search field, you can paste the script and you can press go to see if any form of answer comes, and you get your information like this. So this is how cross-site scripting is possible. So the basic fundamental here is that this is how it is broken down. You can have variations of how cross-site scripting has been done, because we don't need to know on the combinations and the permutations on how cross-site scripting is to be done in a normal way, but you can simply use this form of syntax and paste it anywhere you see that has a form. And please make sure that whichever testing sites you have that are all been with permission, and you simply cannot go and paste the script, as it's going to be logged and you can fall in trouble. So do it at your own caution. So this is how the syntax looks like, and that is how the application is going to work. All right. So now we know that this application is vulnerable. Let us put our testing towards this. And so we use our first tool. We wanted to see whether this application is dedicated or is it shared. Thereby, we use our famous Nmap tool. This is the place, nmap.org. You can download for Windows, you can download for Linux, and it's a simple download button over here, which allows you to download the application on your device. All right. So once you download it, basically it's just running a simple nmap script. So you open your, either you have your terminal or you make sure that you have your command prompt. I have a terminal with me and I type my nmap. So I have basically all the commands that I can do from here, all the information that I can gather from this web application. Please know that we are using this wonderful web application as for pen testing, as we have this application allows us to test on their website. All right. So there are basic commands over here, quite a lot for understanding. We are going to go through the cheat sheet. A cheat sheet is basically a guide that allows you to form a step-by-step process on scanning any form of web application and to gather as much information as you can. The basic of all commands is the nmap and the IP address. Now, corresponding IP address you can find out by just simply pinging onto any website. So let me clear this. And I remove the HTTP because ping does not talk to HTTP. It directly talks to www. And that is where I got my application. Now, with this information, I am able to know that this application rests in EU Central and is hosted on Amazon AWS with the corresponding IP address. So it is hosted on AWS. It is not hosted on any other form of Cloudflare or Nginx and so on. We're going to simply run an nmap command, nmap, and the IP address, and then click run. That is all. A simple command that is mostly used to find out information whether the server is dedicated or not, what services are running on this application, and how much information we can gather from those applications. We know that only port 80 is running. If you want to test how this application works or anything, we can go to the website of nmap itself and we can try out the, so we can try out on this application. Please note that it is not necessary that it does this on IP address because it has to do DNS resolution. Sorry, yeah. So we get a different IP address over here. Please note that we are doing it on an nmap site, website. So there's no problem in this. You can try it along with me. Nmap and then the corresponding web application or IP address. Please make sure that it always, nmap's main purpose is to ping and check whether which application is on, what is running, and how are we able to connect to it. As you can see that there is SSH open, Gopher, HTTP, ident, HTTPS, and earlier. Now, for example, if you want to know more information about this, we will check on the cheat sheet and find out any form of information that we can gather from here. So you can visit or just type nmap cheat sheet. And from there, we can check whether we can do an IP address. We can do multiple IP addresses. We can do a range from 1 to 254. We can check for web applications or domains. We can check whether you can do for subdomains. And you can give a list of all items that you want to target. First 100 hosts, random hosts you can scan at random places whenever you want to scan multiple people at a time. You can do an SS scan, which is a TCP scan. You can do a UDP scan. The difference between TCP and UDP is one that TCP talks with secure connection. UDP talks with just unsecure connection, mostly used for video buffering and so on. You can make sure that which application is running. So you want -SS, -SU. You can do TCP connection port scan with default root privileges, or you can do Windows scan and main mod scan port scan. So we'll do -S and -SU. So yes, -S, S, -SU. Okay, so it requires root privileges for me on that matter. Okay, I can try it here. Okay, so nmap hyphen no, sorry, nmap.org hyphen s no, okay, nmap.org hyphen ss hyphen su. It's basically running the nmap command. It's asking for my firewall permission, especially for Windows. For Linux, it doesn't matter, as it is already been accepted. It's running. This command has to be running on root privileges. You make sure that. I'm sorry. You have to make sure that all the applications are running at root privileges. Any commands that require for nmap. You can go into more details and finding out more information. We can understand what applications are running, what services are being used, and from there justify what application, what purpose is the server. If you have port number 21 or 22, then you can understand that it's for remote access, as 22 is used for telnet. We can make sure that services like SSH, HTTPS are also running, which are more secure in use. And there is a difference between how the port is responding, whether it's open, closed, or filtered. As you can see that we have tried both TCP scan, UDP scan, and we got the same results as before. We're going to check for hyphen SV. We want a more thorough scan. Okay. Yeah. We want a more thorough scan on to understand where and what applications is running and most service versions we want. So yeah, so here we are. Attempts to determine the version of the service and running on port. So as sensitive data exposure is a likelihood of happening on this application, that is how we are able to pull out information from the server to make sure that any any information that has been disclosed is whether it's up to date or whether it's out of date. We can use that for exploitation, especially for communication purposes. The three states are open, closed, and filtered. Open means it's open for everybody. Anybody from any IP address can ping and access these services. Closed means that the port has been closed and no longer in use. Nobody is able to get access to them. Filtered means that the port is filtered. That means it's only whitelisted to some applications, and thereby they are only accessible to certain whitelisted IP addresses to access them. The filtered way is the best way to go. You can simply either abandon the port or to make sure that it is closed, or simply use a filter option. To leave a port open to everybody is a prone and a chance and likelihood of an attack from the user or from the attacker, which may result to a DOS attack. Hyphen SV scan takes more approach and takes more time into analyzing all the open ports and finding out their service version based on how they respond. So that is why it takes a little more way of processing this, even if the ports are quite small in number. There are cases where ports are open on a regular basis, where the server is used on a multi-purpose scale. As you can see that the ports are being quite small in nature, and that there is only few services that are running, that this house or this location or the website is being used or not. Okay, we got hyphen SP and then version, and hyphen A. Hyphen A is more aggressive in nature. It does the hyphen V, hyphen SV, hyphen SU, and all of the above. Plus, you can get the operating system also based on how the server responds. We can check that on the nmap command. We can use -O. So I do a new share. So we use the same and then -O. Sorry, hyphen. There we go. Okay, this also requires root privileges. That means I have to try it with my terminal above. All right. The SV scan is still going on, depending on how much information you can gather. You can use -F to fast the scan. It checks only for the first 100 ports. You can increase the number of ports. There are a total of 65,535 ports in total. Thereby, SV scan has to go through all of them to make sure how they respond, and thereby identifying what versions is being used. -O, on the other hand, finds out whatever version is running of the operating system. For example, if you were to open another terminal or command prompt, and we try the same command again, but instead of -SV, we're going to make it as -O. The main purpose of this scan is to find out the operating system that is being used. Mostly in likelihood, Linux operating systems are mostly used and preferred on a likelihood of being most secure compared to Windows Server. Windows servers are pre-configured and have default settings that can be problematic in nature for the servers, as they are not configured on a daily basis. They are simply plugged and played, and they are configured to a minimum level. As for Linux, it gives you the freedom of choosing whatever applications you want to run and whatever applications you want to choose, and with more comprehensive understanding. It is a little more complicated than Windows, but it is still more secure. So as we keep the scanning running in the background, we can check on the other forms of tools. Sorry, not tools, the other forms of commands that we're going to be using, or to have a better understanding on why and what those commands represent and what following outputs are we going to get. I think we have must. Okay. Yes. So after performing an aggressive operating system scan, we can come to know that this is using an HPP 2000G3 NAS device with a Linux operating system. So that's a likelihood of happening. It even gives the percentage of how much is sure. You should not take everything by word or whatever the nmap throws. It depends on where it is stuck, how it is stuck, because firewall has a tendency of blocking any form of nmap scans. As for Bitdefender, also make sure that antiviruses especially make sure that this application nmap scanning is blocked within the internal or external network. We have quite a lot of ports open for different services, as we mentioned before, and the SV scan should give us more information on this regards. We see that all ports were up, and we got some services in this regards. 1,000 ports on this map is open. Okay. -SV, yeah. And the last form of scan that we can try is the aggressive scan, which is going to take more time on because it runs multiple scans at a time. Depending on the size of ports, depending on the number of open ports and everything, it's going to take its time on that matter. So we're going to understand what are the other commands that we're going to write. O is for operating system, O scan limit. It means that the open and closed TCP ports are not found, and not OS detections are against the host. So it's basically, it is checking whether the TCP ports are open, what ports are open, and does not reply with any form of operating system until it's sure. -O scan guess is mostly like a randomizer based on the output that has been received by the nmap. It is just basically guessing out what could the operating system be. And -A is the example of OS scan, version detection, script scanning, and other traceroute applications are being used. Trace route is part of nmap, and it can be used simultaneously as a command. So we have started the ascan -ascan. Yeah. So that is the basic understanding of nmap. It is network mapper. It uses to find out whatever application is running. If you have any questions on nmap, please do share right now. We're going to move on to the next tool for understanding purpose. In the chat, please put whatever you require. If you have any difficulties understanding what the nmap is. Anyone in the chat? So it's give me, tell me if you want me to move forward. I'll continue on with the next tool. It's going to be Nikto on that part. Nmap is quite simple. Anybody can use, free and open source. You can just go to nmap.org and download the application and try it yourself. Please make sure that you're using only an internal scanner. You can scan for internal networks, such as the one which is at your place. You find out what the IP address is, and then you type it out in this corresponding way. So I want everyone to do it at home. See if you can, when you start downloading an nmap onto your device. It is quite tricky with Windows, but with Linux, it's direct. It's simple as apt nmap and then install, or it comes pre-configured. There are more automated tools. Okay, so this is a tool that I prefer the most, and it's the most powerful tool that I know. It's a combination of nmap and other tools combined together. I will come to that on. It is quite a simple tool in nmap. It combines all the commands of nmap together, all right, including other tools together, and it automates everything in the sense that you don't need to do much applications. You just have to give it an IP address, and once you give it an IP address, it does its magic by itself. And I'll come to that tool. Please remind me on that part. I first have to teach you Nikto, and once I teach you Nikto, I will show you this tool which I use to scan most of my applications, which is mostly to run in the background. Nmap is a tool that is used to only understand what the server level is, not the web application. Understand? Whenever you want, the server can migrate, and the web application can migrate to whatever places or locations it wants. Whereas for the server, whatever has been configured, it is going to stay the same. So if 7 ports or 8 ports are open, if it migrates to a new server, then it will reduce the amount of ports. Okay, so we're going on to the next tool, quite an interesting one. It's by the name of Nikto. It's available in GitHub. It can be installed on Linux itself. There is a run application facility that can be done in the Windows application, but in Linux, it is much simpler to install. Let me create a new share. Yes, I'm in the new share. So where was I? Yes. So if I were to go and type Nikto, and I tick TO, and then scanner, I will be thrown to the GitHub page. Yes. So this is the description of the page. There are multiple vendors with their different types of configurations of Nikto, but the best trusted source is to go to the Nikto GitHub page. GitHub is a repository filled with all open source and applications that can be used on a free to basis. You can simply download it by downloading the code over here, and you can install it pre-configured. Now, for people who are using Kali Linux for pen testing and all, Nikto always comes by default. You just simply run the command. Okay. So how was I? We'll put it in the new repository there. So we go to GitHub, code, copy, and then you say git clone and the URL. We can simply copy this. Creates a file by the name of Nikto, downloads the whole data, downloads the whole repository, and then we can enter Nikto. ls cd program ls, and we have nicto here. So we do, it gives it write permissions to nicto. So ch mod plus x nicto.pl, yes. So we gave it write executable permissions to plus x. That is how it is. So we're changing its directory, changing its file, and you can do nicto pl, and you can give it a URL, which we're going to use for testing purposes. You can simply put any URL. Please make sure that you're using the right URL and the one which is being tested without the yes. Okay. And if I type and enter, I will get an immediate error because I need to use the right function. So the right function I need to use is host h. So I need to put a target URL. There are various other functions like do not follow any 404 errors. Check only for strings, go for keys, IDs, maximum time, how much it wants to scan. Checks for directories, only root directories, checks for SSL, tuning, you can tune it basically. You don't need to tune it. By default, it goes for all the applications that it wants to go out for. So I will go with the same command that I typed before, clear, same command before, -h, and then run. Nicto is running. As you can see, an IP address has already been carved. A server Nginx has already been identified. Nginx 1.19.0, which has sensitive information exposure. And we can use this and find out if they're using components with non-vulnerability. So I'll just copy this. And after, okay, sorry. I simply, yeah. Okay. So I just copy this. And I can go to the CWE website. CWE website. Yes, yes, I know that. If you want me, I can increase the font. It would be a little better. Just make it a little bigger. Okay, fine. A lot of repositories have been identified. XML is found over here. Another policy XML is found over here. Target port is always goes by default 80. You can change the port by putting -p, and then you can specify what port you want. It shows that the PHP version we found, and it's running Ubuntu. That means the server banner gives quite an interesting information over here. Since we already copied the Nginx, we can check for CV details on that part. See details. Enter the Nginx here. And so as you can see that, oh, okay. So not much identifications on this part. So you can see that the Nginx is up to date, but it does come under the classifications of sensitive data exposure because it's somehow able to identify which form of Nginx is being used, and the server information should not be disclosed by anyone. The best way to hide it is either to not use any form of proprietary information. Like if you're borrowing the code and all from third parties, you have to make sure that any form of version disclosure is been hidden, especially when it comes to PHP, Nginx, and so on. It will continue on to find some more applications, and it will continue on to find out any form of vulnerabilities. Okay. Now, moving on. Once this is finished, we'll make sure that we'll get to this. Once it is completed, we will test on to another tool that we are using and we're proud to use on a daily basis is BurbSuite. BurbSuite is a free paid version of the tool. You can still get a proprietary version. There is a community version which is being used, and it's on a higher ability to find out more application issues. So let's do a quick scan, make sure that every application is tested fine, and to find out a list of vulnerabilities. As a pen tester, the BurbSuite makes a life a little bit easy. You can simply start with a new scan. You can add in the data that you want to scan or the URL. You can choose a scanning configuration however you want. You can make sure that you minimize the false positives over here. All right. And application login if required, and resource pool, how much you want to give resources depending on how many cores or your configuration is. And it will continue on. It will start to crawl, find out the targets, and then thereby giving any form of attack. Okay. So the crawling is going to continue on. And here, see, as you can see, it's going to find out any form of vulnerabilities over here. Once the crawling process starts, and it's going to find out any issues. Once the issues have been identified, it's going to put for scanning, and thereby it's going to choose from the OAuth standards plus CWE standards. It's going to pull out the information. Any questions in the tools that we're using? We got the Nikto, we got BurbSuite. BurbSuite, okay. The community version of BurbSuite does not allow for scanning. There are certain limitations to how much you can use on for the scanning purpose. For to find out any information that you want to gather, like for example, you visit a cyber cafe, okay, and you are sitting on for a browser. For example, you visit the sign up page. All right, let me change this. Okay. Yes. Okay, proxy, intercept off, options 127.0.0.1. Okay. Make sure that your mics are muted. We need to have a conversation with that. Okay, we found a very interesting admin directory. This is the beauty of Nikto. It finds out the necessary directories, finds out the version details, and all of the above. So I think we have login.php. So we'll try the admin page. And here we are. So this is a form of directory listing. I hope everyone can see my screen. And using Nikto and some manual observation, we are able to find an index, which is called directory listing. We're able to save a file locally onto our system and check where we are on that matter. What are the informations that we can gather? So that's the power and beauty of Nikto. And there's yeah, so it says here directory index found. This might be interesting. So this is how it finds out the information. Disclose IP address over here, which we can use, which means that it's a private IP address. What else to be fine? We have a wildcard. So I think BurbSuite is going to find on that matter. So we go to dashboard. It is still asking, is still making 5 requests, and it has crawled 2 locations. So it's going to take its time. All right. Or we can change the configurations and make sure that it is going faster. We can reduce the time of crawling. Yes. So we go to crawling. We go to edit. Yes. We make it a little faster. I say. Okay. Now what I've done so far is use 3 tools. I've used Nmap, I've used Nikto, and I've used BurbSuite. Now BurbSuite is an interpreter. Yes, it interprets any form of data. It sits in the middle. Now, for example, you have your client and you have your server. You have one person talking to another person. Burp is a person that sits in the middle and listens and peeps over to the communication that is happening between two parties. When it has the communication between two parties, it tries to pass on the information and make sure that it has a log of every information that it gathers. How does it do this, as you see? So what happens is, I have my proxy on. This is a proxy that I set to 127.0.0.1 sitting on port 8080. I have my browser that is sitting over here, and I have to make sure that I go to my settings of my browser, and I just type proxy in the search. For Chrome, it's going to be a little different, but you can simply type the word proxy, and here you are. The proxy is being listened to 127.0.0.1. So what happens is that every traffic that is passing through from this web browser to the server is listening by the burp suit. So we can basically intercept the items. So what we can do is intercept, turn on intercept, go to the browser, reload the page, and here you are, you intercepted the information. You can do anything to this. You can modify it, you can change the values, and you can send it to the server and see what response you can get. Okay, so let's try to play a trick on the server and see whether it works. So we're going to intercept both response and request and response. And that's how we do bypassing validation and everything. So like, for example, I'm a normal user. Okay, let's go and visit. Okay, let's visit Gmail. I want to type enter in Gmail. So you have to make sure that there is no proxy that has been set. Okay, when you are going to visit a cyber cafe or visiting somebody else's public Wi-Fi or not, they always proxy their traffic to make sure that the information is been gathered. So if I were to click on sign in, and if I were to type any form of data, for example, I type my name, enter. Oh, okay, searching for, let's go. And I'm going to type the password, just 12345. Okay, 120, I have typed. It goes for the wrong password. Multiple times I enter, I get the wrong password, and so on. But what is an interesting factor is that burp suit, an application that is created for the purpose of pen testing, can be used for malicious purpose also at the same time. It has the ability to record all the traffic that has been passing through, and it puts it in a clear plain text. As you can see that this is a Google challenge token that is being used. Password recovery also is being used. And as you can see, the password is in clear text, as you can see over here. This is how hackers try to get information through proxy. This is how it is easy for people to fall in traps to open public Wi-Fi. This is the only reason you're not supposed to connect to public Wi-Fi's, nor you're supposed to log in into, public domains, which are cyber cafes, open Wi-Fi, free hotspots, especially in cafes, cyber cafe. Sorry, what was that? Like McDonald's, yes. McDonald's, Cafe Coffee Day, Starbucks, any places like that where they give you free Wi-Fi and everything, and you start to sign in and log in and everything. This is how easy it is to get somebody's access and passwords. This burp suit will be sitting in one computer that will be sitting with one router. That router is transferring all the traffic to this burp suit, which will record every traffic, and that is how you're able to get access. Remember that this is Google. Google is not even trying to hide their password. See how it is in clear text over here, including my username also. So what I can do is, now I want to brute force, all right? I want to send multiple challenges. I want to try multiple attempts on this. Okay, so I send it to Intruder. Intruder is a very lovely tool. You can try a place where you can attack on that. So I clear the place. I know the username. I do not know the password. So I will put as a target vector over here. Okay. Payload. I will just use a runtime. A simple list. And add from a custom list. So I will try passwords. So it tries all multiple passwords I can try. And I can simply attack. and it tries to make a login multiple attempts and sees if I'm able to successfully log in. It gives a 204, 204, 204, 204, 204. This is how simple it is to perform a DOS attack using burp suite. And it is open for free version also. In the community version, this is how simple it is to perform a brute force attack. Now, this sounds like as if it is more of proactive into hacking, but this is, you have to make sure that the application is having some way to restrict the users from logging in multiple times. Now, for example, I will take this application, okay? Imagine that I do not know the password for this. There is test. So I will just type in random values over here, okay? And in here, I will try to enter in and make sure that any values that I add, so like for example, I know the username is test. So I will type the password has 1234, okay? And I will submit it, okay? So once I submit this, and I have to make sure that this application is being submitted, processed fine, everything is going, and it says that the username is wrong. So I just need to register that myself as a user. And since I already know that the username is right, and most people tend to give their usernames out to public and everything. Yeah, 53 locations scroll. Yes, it's doing its scanning in that process. By then, we already have got enough information that we can perform a brute force attack. So here we are. In the login sequence, we have a login and we have user info. And here we see test 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I do is okay, give it a minute. As because of the internet. Yes. Send it to intruder. Intruder is highlighted. I get the intruder. I get the URL. I get the port. I get the position. It has found out where the positions are. I do a clear first. I know that the username is correct. I just want the password. So I do an add. I do what payload I want to add. I put a simple list. Simple list means what? Then I just go for a normal list of items that I can use. I can even go for XSS and SQL injection statements to see what kind of information I can get. So it's basically feeding the server with multiple values. See, all SQL injections and every form of data is being used. And then what I'll do is, as a proof of concept, I will add my own text. So what I'll do is I'll add here TEST and add. That I can simply put my list of words over here. I can go upwards of millions, 10 millions, 20 million, up to 100 million words, and just leave this as the background. And it does its work perfectly fine. Within instance, it's trying milliseconds, it's making attempts. That is how vulnerable an application is. And once it's able to find out, we are having a different response. As you can see, if you sort by length, and in descending order, yes. So it keeps on giving different values, as you can see. So if you want to understand what we are looking at over here, it's basically in the password. It has put certain values over here. Even with I do not know exactly what is the purpose of this, but it has given some form of response, which is okay. If I want to make it look a little nice, I can render this application and I'm able to log in. A successful login using SQL injection without me realizing that it is an SQL injection. My purpose was to perform brute force. And this is how I got the same response. As you can see, using the password as test, I'm able to get a response of 6,551 length. And the other similar response is also the same length. That means that not only that this test was successful, that the other applications, that the other attacks which was used over here was also successful in nature. So that means to check whether this is performing a live attack or not, I will have to simply copy the password that the application used over here and paste it over to the web application and see whether I'm able to log in successfully or not. So that is how vulnerabilities affect when you attempt to make brute force. And that is how we make sure that your website is safe whenever it comes to login, contact us pages, or registration pages, which are likelihood of having vulnerabilities. That is how SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and all other attacks is possible, revealing sensitive information, broken authentication, broken access control, and other forms of attacks. Okay, so if you have any questions in regarding to how we perform this attack or how we use brute force in using the application, and see, logging and monitoring also is missing. Why? Because the application has not given any form of error. No error. Everything is perfectly fine. If I reload this page, it does not say that you have made multiple attempts, like how you do it on a smartphone. You try multiple patterns and try to see if you can get access, but it is not working, and then it locks you out, it times you out. That means logging is possible, and it gives you an attempt to see how many people have done it. As for the scans, it's still going on. I have login.php, and for the SV scan, for aggressive scan, we have some information that we have gathered. It's the same information that we have gathered before, the open ports on that matter. As for Bubsuit will continue on going on for the scanning on this process, and will find out as much information as it can. Mostly it will be in relations to SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and all of the above. As you can see, it has resulted in quite a lot of issues. It has resulted in cross-site scripting, flash cross-domain policy, detailed error message, quite a lot. So if you want to see whatever the issue is, you can simply go to request and a response, and you can simply render. See, this is the most sensitive way. This is error handling. I think error handling was talked about in information gathering, and this is how an error reveals some sensitive information. We have identified SQL injection, we have identified cross-site scripting. To verify whether this has been accurate or not, whether this could or not, we are going to do that in phase 3. As of phase 2, our main focus over here is to gather as much information as we can from the website with the limited amount of time that we have. Our clients are very sensitive whenever it comes, so that it does not form any form of business impact. So what we do on a daily basis, or whenever it comes to projects, we make sure that all the scanning is done, all the necessary items and details have been identified, then we cross-reference them using other forms of tools. So that is how we play, and that is how we do the scanning. And as you can see, we completed with the Nikto scanning over here. We ended a perfect time, and we found a vulnerability. So we need to cross-reference them on this. So this is how we gather information. This is how much we use the tools. Now I'm going to show you a very interesting tool by the name of Nmap Automator. This is one of a kind tool. It's a GitHub repository developed so simple that we use it for daily work. We keep it running on the background, and a simple person can understand and run this tool. So if I type Nmap Automator, and this is the tool that has already been visited. This is how much, yes. So this tool combines both Nmap and Nikto together. Not only that, but it combines multiple tools such as GoBuster, which is another brute force attack, SSL scanner, which checks for SSL vulnerabilities. We're going to check on this tool also, SSL scanner, to check whether since this application has no proper SSL configured, we are not able to run an SSL scan, but we can check on this, where are we? Nmap, yes, nmap.org. Yeah, so nmap.org has an SSL, as you can see, it's already been configured with SSL. We can use, let me check if, yes. So test SSL is another application where you can check whether the SSL configuration has been done or not. We can leave Bubsuit alone. So Nmap Automator does all these things. It's a combination of multiple tools into one. You don't need to understand what is the purpose of the tool. You just have to run it, and you'll find as much vulnerabilities as you can. And you can use that information to gather as much as information you can gather, and you can try bug bounties, you can try various sites and all to find out all information. This is as simple as it is. Run the command, run the IP address or the place that you want to attack, and just say all. Give me everything, or scan everything. That's how simple it is. So we'll run test SSL using the application, which is also on GitHub by the name of test SSL. It's an open source tool mainly to test SSL versions. Now, sir, Dr. Harsha has spoken on different types of SSL and TLS versions, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.3 being the latest and most secure. 1.2 and 1.1 is more unsecure because it is easy to bypass and read information that has been passed through, which is encrypted, because they use a weak hashing algorithm. So now we make it clear. We use test SSL and we give it a website, and it's going to run and do its magic. It's going to check for every version. It's going to check for every browser. Each browser has a different way of responding each way, and you can see 1.2 is being offered. That means 1.3 is not existing. That means that this SSL certificate is vulnerable to a certain degree. The threat over here is considered as medium to low, and we can continue on to find out any more form of information that has been gathered. It is as simple as finding out as much vulnerabilities from this SSL certificate, thereby adding to the report and thereby adding to the vulnerabilities that have been identified. Please note that we're using two different sites. I'm using nmap.org to test for the SSL certificate, and I'm using test1web to check for any forms of vulnerabilities in corresponding to OWASP or CWE. As you can see, a very weak hashing algorithm has been given over here. A little more research you can do on this, and you can find out what vulnerabilities are existing over here. If you have any questions in regarding to this matter, please let me know now so that I can help you in understanding on that. We are going to conclude by 4. 4 please. Is everyone able to hear me? I just got disconnected over there. Just give me 1 minute to set back. Yeah, just got disconnected from the call. I just wanted to, yes. We are concluding at 4, right? Here we are. We found Apache, quite a vulnerable version. You might have to check whether it's on CV or not, and see whether we have found any information that we gathered. So using with components with known vulnerability and other forms of attacks is also possible in this matter. It makes a checklist of every items that have been used over here. Heartbleed is not possible. CCS is not possible. Thick band is not possible. So this is how we are able to justify whether a self-signed certificate or okay. Can you hear me now? Hello. Check. Testing. Okay, fine. So yeah, this is a test SSL is the best place to have a debate and to end all arguments. I'm still having some internet issues. Yes. Okay, so if you have any questions in this regards, because as you can see that the SSL certificate is quite fine over here, but it is only going to version 1.2. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we have gone through 4 tools, and to have a basic understanding on those all tools, we have to understand what we are looking for and how it corresponds to each other. What is the reason behind finding out an SSL issue? What is the reason behind finding out what the server is running, and so on? Because Nmap and SSL certificates are quite interesting. Test SSL is quite interesting in this part. So what you understand is, if you're able to understand whether this server has been shared or whether this server has been having a communication with other hosting other applications and everything, and they're all using the same SSL certificate, then you can understand that one application is enough to bring down the entire server, thereby bringing down other businesses also. So that acts as a motive. Use Nmap to find out whether this application is vulnerable, get into that application's vulnerability, find out using its database, and pull out all the information and make out the server to vomit every information that you gather. That means that not only that the application is able to pull out from its not only that the attacker is able to pull out the information from it, the web application, but any other web application that is hosted on the same server could have the same problems. So you're able to understand, right? It's one application that causes the other applications to crumble and fall and creates vulnerabilities to other applications at that matter. As you can see that the test SSL application tests for all various kinds of browsers and tries to find out if there is any vulnerabilities in this matter, including the hashing algorithm. And we have come up here to see that it is vulnerable to Lockjam and Lucky 13 and Beast. Quite an interesting couple of them. Okay. So any questions in the tools that we are using and the purpose of them? We're going to have a better understanding later on in the phase 3, because we need to do more in-depth analysis on all the information that we have gathered over here. We're going to we are going to go piece by piece to understand each and every application that we are going to use and make sure that we are only going to stay to Burp Suite. Okay, Burp Suite Community Edition is there. You can work with me on the same basis. You can say the same request. You can find out multiple places that are injectable. The same points are vulnerable to multiple ways of injection. You have to just understand where you are supposed to attack them and what is the expected outcome from that matter. All right. Any questions on Burp Suite? Any questions on Nikto? Any questions on Nmap and Test SSL? So I see that, okay, everyone is fine. So make sure that you make notes of every application that we are using, okay? Because the end result, which is the phase 3, is going to combine all of those informations. And in phase 4 is where we're going to put most of the reportings in all the identifications that we've been found. We've understood that SQL injection is here. We're going to test on how this SQL injection is possible, which parameter it is possible, what is the response that has come, and what is the expected outcome, and what it looks like as a pen tester. Okay. Please note that this application is continuing on the scan no matter what. So it's going to find out every request. Okay, so that is all for now what we have received today, and we are going to conclude this session. If you have any questions and any doubts, feel free to message in the group on this regards. We're going to help you out into finding out more information on the attacks that are possible. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, if anybody wants to discuss, you can open your, you can unmute yourself and just ask Sydney any questions. Me and Lydia, all of us are here. Before we conclude,
Yeah, we can have an open session.
yes. Anyone has any queries?
Instead of messaging it to me directly, you can message. You can ask as a conversation, as an open topic. I am ready to answer your queries. If you're sending it individually, that's fine. But you can please make sure that you throw it out open. One more thing, we can give you the links to download the Bubsuit Community Edition. Just you have to Google search Bubsuit Community. You make sure that you have 4 GB RAM, and you're able to download and install this. And we'll teach you how to configure this if anyone is interested.
Yeah. Okay, so we can conclude now. As even if you have any questions, tomorrow we can share it by 9:30. We are going to start the session tomorrow. So if you feel that you need to ask some things on tools or information gathering, you can make points, and we can clarify your questions. And tomorrow you will have a recap of everything, whatever 10 minutes of recap, and then he will start the session again. Sydney will start the session. So thank you one and all for joining, and we can meet by 9:30 tomorrow. Okay, thank you, have a nice day.